just had an incredible gig, and we've had a visitor here tonight, all the way from Johannesburg, an original Cape Townian who moved to Durban for 10 years. Then he moved to Johannesburg and is probably one of the fathers of jazz from this city, knows and grew up with a whole host of musicians. We've got Don Vino Prince, our saxophonist. We've got Andre Henry, Tony Drake, Fabian France, and of course we've got Mr. Don Albert with us. And Don, it's wonderful to have you here. We'd just like to hear from you how you enjoyed this evening here in Cape Town. You're not often in Cape Town, but when you are, do you enjoy coming to listen to jazz?
Without a doubt. I like to sunbathe. I love the sun.
Yes.
I love the sun, and I love the music. And the best jazz scene in South Africa is without a doubt, and I'm not being patronizing,
Yes.
but is happening in Johannesburg. In Cape Town. There's
Sure.
nothing in slip of the tongue, because there's nothing happening. I've just written something, and I remember when I was on the Star in the 80s, everything was happening in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
So much so that I called it Jazzburg.
Yes.
It's now Deadburg. But it's happening in Cape Town. Maybe not every night in one place,
Yeah.
but there are venues all over. I talk to the musicians. A lot of them are giving gigs away. They're turning it around.
Yes.
I've found that there's not a jealousy here.
Yes.
That if this guy can't do the gig, he'll give it to that
somebody
guy.
else, yeah.
And I like that. That's what jazz is
That's the
about.
spirit,
Jazz is all about sharing. People don't understand that, you
Yeah.
know. They think of jazz as a four-letter word. They are more scared of the word than the music.
Yeah.
And I always say to them, these people who come up and say, "Well, what is jazz?"
Mm.
And I say, "Why don't you ever ask what is classical?"
Yeah.
"Oh no, that's in, that can't be, but jazz." And I don't like jazz because I can't hear the tune. And I say, "Have you ever danced In the Mood?
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to Louis Armstrong?" "Oh yes, we love it." I said, that's
jazz.
It's a style of jazz
Yeah.
that you mightn't like,
Yeah.
but don't class the whole thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the university, I think, down here in Cape Town has done a lot for jazz. Tonight's performance, I was a little amazed. It was very professional. It was nicely rehearsed. The people understand the music.
Yeah.
And that's it. Play something they understand.
That's right.
Let them enjoy themselves. And if they want to move on, they will.
Yeah.
And if they want to go back and find out who were the greats, they will. If they want to stay where they are, as long as they come out and listen to the music,
That's right.
that is the most important thing. I do not like just playing keyboards with a saxophone sound and this. I got a CD from Australia from a girl singer,
Yes.
and she wasn't bad, but the accompaniment was
Yes.
cracky.
Yes.
It was, all dubbed and things on computers, and that's not by me.
Yeah.
Keep musicians in work.
Absolutely.
And, why do that? Why get a trio if you
Correct.
can't afford it?
Correct. Yeah.
But I don't like that, and I refuse to review
yes.
that. What else can I say? I once said to Stan Getz, "Why, when you were a young guy, did you leave Stan Kenton? I mean,
Yeah.
Kenton was the rising guy.
That's right.
And he was very simple. He said, because he's a staccato player and I'm a legato player.
Okay.
Yeah, you asked
some
me
of the highlights of your career. You've played with some of the best. You've been friends with some of the best. A couple of stories pertaining to Cape Town, maybe players that you've played with, that you've had interaction with here in Cape Town.
I tell you, I don't know if you remember the Navigators then.
I remember the Navigators then. I must have
Well,
been a little boy though.
Yeah, three of us, a guy called Solly Bloch on piano, Billy Crawford on drums, and myself were doing gigs.
Yes.
Used to get 10 shillings for the trio.
Wow.
And one night we were looking for a place to jam, and we looked all over the place for a piano. And we ended up down in the docks nearly, and we found this place, and there was a piano. So we said, do you mind if we play? I mean, there were a couple of hookers there and a few drunken seamen over there. And I thought, well, they don't care.
Yeah.
And the guy said, fine. And that actually started
The Navigators.
the whole of the Navigators then.
Wow.
It became so popular, and with all the musicians, eventually they wanted to charge the musicians to go in there. But that was there. Other things about Cape Town. I recently saw Morris Goldberg.
Okay. In New York?
And I saw him on a jazz cruise.
Okay.
There's a jazz cruise that goes out of Miami.
Royal Caribbean?
No, it's the Holland America line.
Okay.
And they have about 80 to 100 musicians
Yes.
on the ship. And I had been on a couple by myself, and I talked to Johnny Marshall, who used to play at the Waldorf here.
Yes.
And he got hold of Morris, and we all went on this cruise. Unbelievable. Big bands, small bands, 4 freshmen,
Yes.
and just marvelous. And we were talking about Cape Town, and he still plays. He has a little group over there
Yeah.
with the drummer who does the Letterman show,
Okay.
whose name I cannot remember. Anton Fig.
Anton Fig.
Who
South
is-
African.
yes, from Cape Town.
Yes.
And he's recognized as a major
Player.
player
Wow.
over there. And probably the best drummer we ever had here was,
Cecil Ricker.
that's him. Now, talking to one of the great drummers today, Jeff Hamilton,
Yeah.
an unbelievable drummer.
Diana Krall's drummer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're on the ship, and I was talking to him, and he said, "You're from South Africa?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you know Cecil Ricker?"
Oh my goodness.
And I said, "Yeah, but he died."
Yeah.
So he said, "I've got to tell you something." He said, Peter Nero was coming through where he was at university. He
Yeah.
said he was only into jazz and this and that, and everybody said, "Come to Peter Nero. Come to
Yeah.
I want to hear that. That's not jazz. I don't want to go."
Yeah.
But they took him. He says, and this guy got up. He says, "The first time I'd seen a drummer in $1,000 suit." He said, and he said, "I learned so much from him," and it was Cecil Ricker. He said, "Cecil used to do something I still can't do."
Wow.
He said he would change from drums, from sticks to brushes and back. And he said you couldn't. You couldn't believe it. It was
Yes,
so fast
yes.
and you didn't even know it.
Wow.
He says, and I've been trying to do that ever since then. I could never do it like Cecil Rika. And this is one of the great drummers today.
Yeah, Jeff Hamilton is wonderful.
Yeah.
If you had to leave a message for people that we would like to encourage to come to Kaleidoscope, what would you say to them?
You're stupid if you don't come.
There you go. You've heard it from Don Albert, one of the fathers of jazz in South Africa. You stupid if you haven't been to Kaleidoscope. Thank you so much, Don. Lovely to have you here.
Can always have a ball where the girls are so pretty and the guys, they know they have it all. At Montreal, where the jazz is fun and free. Where the vibes are so happy. Ask a girl or rich happy to dance.